A man sits alone in his room. The noise of the world outside feels distant, yet inside, his heart is heavy, tired, drained. It's as if the weight of 1,000 invisible burdens has been quietly pressing down for years. People around him might see a smile, but inside, he's hurting in silence. This is a picture many of us know too well. Life wears us down. It takes our energy, our peace, sometimes even our will to keep going. And yet healing doesn't come from the outside. It doesn't come from another person, from a quick fix, or even from time itself. True healing begins in a much quieter place, within. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that the path back to wholeness is not about escaping the pain, but about turning inward and remembering what has always been there: peace, love, and strength. These qualities are not given to us by the world. They already live in us, waiting to be uncovered. Think of it like this. Beneath a turbulent ocean, where waves crash and storms roar, the deep water below remains calm, still, unshaken. That depth is your true self. The storms of life can rage on the surface, but if we learn to return inward, we touch that stillness that no chaos can break. This is not just philosophy, it is a practice. It means noticing the breath, softening the thoughts, and being kind to your own heart. It means remembering that healing is not about fixing who you are, but rediscovering the peace that was never lost. And here's something powerful. The moment you begin to look within, instead of chasing answers outside, life starts to shift. Pain softens, the body feels lighter, and slowly, a sense of wholeness returns, not because something new has entered, but because you've uncovered what was always there. If this message stirs something inside you, if it reminds you of a truth you may have forgotten, then take a second to support this space. Like, share, or follow Buddha wisdom. It's one simple way of spreading the seed of healing to someone else who might be quietly hurting right now. And together, we help each other remember the path home is always within. 1. Everything is in motion. There was once a woman who sat by her window every night, staring at the same empty chair across the room. That chair used to hold the laughter of her husband, the warmth of her family dinners, the comfort of a familiar presence. Now, it was only silence. And in that silence, she felt as if her sadness would last forever. But here's the truth that Buddhist wisdom gently whispers. Nothing lasts forever. Not joy, not sorrow, not even the pain we think will never leave. Everything is in motion. Everything changes. Impermanence is one of the greatest truths of life. The seasons prove it. The body proves it. Even the mind proves it, shifting from happiness to sadness, from fear to courage, like clouds passing through the sky. When we forget this, we cling to our suffering as if it will always be there. We believe the storm will never pass, but when we remember impermanence, something shifts. We begin to see that every moment, no matter how dark, carries within it the seed of change. The pain of today is not the pain of forever. Think of a river. The water that touches your hand right now will never be the same water again. Life is like that. It flows, it moves, it never stays still. For the woman at the window, healing began when she understood this. She realized that her grief, as heavy as it felt, was not permanent. Slowly, she noticed moments of light breaking through the smile of a grandchild, the beauty of a sunrise, the quiet comfort of her own breath. This is the gift of impermanence. It teaches us not to despair when life is hard, and not to cling too tightly when life is sweet, because both will pass. And in that passing, there is a kind of freedom. So when pain feels endless, remember, it is only a visitor. Like a storm, it will come, and it will go. And in its leaving, you will discover the strength that has always been inside you. 2. Embrace your pain. There was a young man who had lost his job, his relationship, and his sense of direction all at once. Every morning, he woke up with a heaviness in his chest, pretending to be fine when inside he was breaking. His friends told him to move on, to think positive, but those words only pushed him deeper into silence. Buddhist wisdom reminds us, healing doesn't begin with escape. It begins with honesty. It begins with saying, yes, this hurts. Yes, I am in pain. When we finally allow ourselves to acknowledge suffering instead of pushing it away, something changes. The pain softens. The walls we built around our heart begin to loosen. Just like a wound that needs air to heal, the heart also needs the space of truth to begin mending. The Buddha once taught, suffering is not to be feared, it is to be understood. This means our pain isn't a punishment, and it isn't the enemy. It is a teacher. Each tear carries wisdom. Each sleepless night holds a lesson. Think of it like holding a crying child. If you scold or ignore that child, the crying only grows louder. But when you take the child in your arms and simply say, I'm here with you, the sobbing begins to soften. Your pain is that child. It doesn't need rejection, it needs your embrace. For the young man, healing began when he stopped pretending. One evening, he sat quietly and whispered to himself, this is hard, and it's okay to feel broken. In that moment, he felt a small release, as if a burden he had carried alone finally had a place to rest. This is the paradox of healing. When we stop running from pain and turn to face it, we discover it loses its power to control us. Pain doesn't vanish overnight, but it transforms. It becomes a doorway, a passage into deeper strength, deeper compassion, and deeper peace. So remember, don't fear your suffering. Embrace it. Hold it gently, and in that embrace, you'll find it slowly begins to heal you from the inside out. 3. Trace the pain to its roots. There was a man who always carried anger in his heart. Small things would set him off. A careless word from a friend, a memory of betrayal, even his own reflection in the mirror. On the surface, it looked like impatience, but deep inside, he didn't understand why the fire burned so fiercely. This is the nature of suffering. What we see on the outside is only the smoke. The true flame lies hidden underneath. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that every pain has a cause. Just as a tree cannot grow without roots, no sorrow appears without reason. When we pause, when we dare to sit still and listen deeply, we begin to see where our pain comes from. Maybe it is fear of being abandoned. Maybe it is the loneliness of not feeling seen. Maybe it is an old wound from childhood that was never healed. The Buddha once said, with our thoughts, we make the world. This means our suffering is often shaped by the stories we tell ourselves about what happened and who we believe we are because of it. The moment we trace pain back to its roots, we stop fighting the smoke and finally see the fire. And when we see clearly, healing begins. Think of a thorn stuck in the foot. You can ignore it. You can pretend it isn't there. But the pain will keep returning with every step. Only when you stop, look closely, and gently remove the thorn does the wound begin to heal. Our inner pain is no different. For the man, the breakthrough came during a simple meditation. Instead of pushing his anger away, he asked himself softly, what are you really trying to say? And beneath the anger, he found grief. Beneath the grief, he found a longing to be loved. Once he touched that root, the anger began to lose its grip. This is why we trace pain to its source, not to blame, not to dwell, but to understand. Because once we see the root clearly, we are no longer trapped by it. We can choose compassion. We can choose freedom. So when pain rises again, don't just fight the smoke. Go deeper. Ask where it comes from. and you may find that what once felt unbearable was only the beginning of your healing. 4. The healing power of self-compassion. There was a woman who had spent years blaming herself. Every mistake, every wrong turn, every broken relationship, she carried them like heavy stones in a bag she could never put down. And the cruelest part? It wasn't the judgment from others that hurt the most. It was the judgment she gave herself. Many of us live like this, punishing ourselves silently, believing that being harsh will somehow make us stronger. But Buddhist wisdom offers another truth. It is not the love we beg from others that heals us. It is the love we give ourselves. The Buddha taught, "You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection." These words are simple, yet they hold the key to healing. Because when we turn compassion inward, something softens. The heart that was once closed begins to open. Self-compassion is not weakness, it is strength. Imagine trying to grow a flower in soil filled with poison. It cannot bloom. In the same way, the soul cannot heal when fed only with blame and judgment. But when we water ourselves with kindness, forgiveness, and gentle patience, healing naturally takes root. For the woman, change began with a small act. One morning, instead of looking in the mirror and repeating her usual criticisms, she placed her hand over her heart and whispered, "I am worthy of love, even from myself." At first, it felt strange, but with time, those words began to dissolve the weight she carried. Slowly, the stones in her bag grew lighter. This is the power of self-compassion. It transforms wounds into wisdom. It teaches us that healing doesn't mean being perfect. It means being gentle with the parts of ourselves that are still learning. So, if you are carrying pain today, pause. Place a hand on your heart. Breathe. Speak to yourself the way you would to a dear friend. Because when you love yourself deeply, you open the door for true healing to enter. 5. The medicine of silence. There was a man who lived in constant noise. His days were filled with the sound of traffic, endless conversations, notifications buzzing from his phone, and the chatter of his own restless mind. Yet deep inside, he felt empty. No matter how much he tried to distract himself, the weight of his worries never left. One evening, tired and overwhelmed, he went for a walk by the river. For the first time in a long while, he sat down, closed his eyes, and simply listened. Not to the voices outside, but to the silence within. At first, it was uncomfortable, like standing in a room too quiet. But slowly, that silence revealed something he had been running from: his own heart. The Buddha once said, "Silence is an empty space, but it is full of answers." In stillness, the man began to see clearly what noise had always hidden. He saw his fears, his desires, and also his capacity for peace. That night, he realized that silence was not the absence of life. It was the medicine his soul had been longing for. Silence heals because it reconnects us with our true nature. Just as a muddy pond settles when left undisturbed, our mind also clears when we allow it to rest in stillness. In that clarity, we find direction. In that stillness, we discover strength. You don't need to escape to the mountains to experience this. Even 5 minutes of quiet in the morning or before you sleep can open a doorway back to yourself. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Listen not to the noise outside, but to the space within. This is the medicine of silence. It is always available, waiting for you to taste it. And once you do, you'll see that peace was never lost. It was simply hidden beneath the noise. 6. The present moment. There was a man who always lived somewhere else, either in yesterday or in tomorrow. He replayed old mistakes like broken records, wishing he could change what was already gone. And when he wasn't drowning in the past, his mind was racing ahead, worrying about things that hadn't even happened yet. The result? He was never truly alive in the only place life was happening this very moment. Buddhist wisdom reminds us, the past is memory, the future is imagination, but the present is reality. The Buddha once said, "Do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment." One day, exhausted by regrets and fears, the man decided to simply stop. He sat down, closed his eyes, and felt his breath. For the first time in years, he noticed the gentle rise and fall of his chest. He felt the air touching his skin. He heard the faint sound of birds outside his window. Nothing special. Yet everything was alive. That was when he realized he had been chasing peace everywhere else, while peace had been here all along, in the simple act of being present. Living in the present doesn't mean ignoring the past or forgetting the future. It means not letting them steal the beauty of now. Healing begins the moment we stop fighting what has already passed and stop fearing what has not yet come. So today, take a pause. Notice your breath. Feel your feet on the ground. Look around and see the life happening right here, right now. Because the present moment is not just a point in time. It is the doorway to freedom, to healing, and to truly living. 7. Stop comparing yourself to others. There was a woman who spent most of her life looking at others. When a friend bought a new house, she felt her own home was too small. When someone posted a perfect photo online, she suddenly saw every flaw in herself. No matter what she achieved, it never felt enough because someone else always seemed to have more, look better, or live happier. Her heart grew heavy with quiet jealousy. And worse, she lost sight of her own beauty, her own path. Buddhist wisdom teaches us this simple truth. Comparison is the thief of joy. The Buddha reminded us that each being has its own karma, its own journey, its own timing. A flower does not compete with the flower next to it. It simply blooms. The woman, exhausted by her constant self-judgment, finally asked herself, what if I stopped measuring my worth against someone else's story? That was the turning point. She began to notice her small victories, the meals she cooked with love, the laughter she shared with her children, the moments of silence she gifted herself at sunrise. None of these could be compared. They were hers alone. When you compare, you turn away from your own path. But when you honor your uniqueness, you walk with peace. So today, let yourself bloom in your own rhythm. Trust your journey, even if it looks different. Because your light is not meant to outshine anyone else. It is meant to shine as only you can. That is where true peace begins. 8. Forgive yourself and others. There was a man who carried a heavy bag on his back. Inside were stones. Each stone was a grudge, a mistake, a hurt he refused to let go of. Some were from others words that cut too deep, betrayals he never saw coming. Some were from himself choices he regretted, guilt that never seemed to fade. Everywhere he went, the bag came with him. It made every step harder. It kept him from moving forward. One day in his exhaustion he asked, why am I still carrying all of this? Buddhist wisdom tells us that holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intention of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. Forgiveness is not about saying what happened was okay. It is about choosing freedom over bondage. The man began with himself. He whispered, I forgive you, to the mistakes that haunted him. Then, one by one, he imagined placing down the stones of resentment he carried for others. Each time he let go, the bag grew lighter, and for the first time, he could stand tall without the weight of the past crushing him. Forgiveness is not weakness. It takes courage. It takes strength. But it is the doorway to peace. When you forgive others, you free your heart from hatred. When you forgive yourself, you free your soul from shame. So ask yourself today, asterisk, what stones am I still carrying? Asterisk. And imagine what it would feel like to finally put them down. Because forgiveness is not just about them, it's about you. It is the moment you choose to walk free. 9. Practice mindfulness. There was a young woman who always felt restless. Her days were filled with rushing, checking her phone, finishing work, worrying about tomorrow. Even when she sat down to eat, her mind was somewhere else. She lived everywhere except the present moment. And because of that, peace always seemed out of reach. One day, she heard the Buddha's simple teaching, asterisk, when you walk, just walk. When you eat, just eat. Asterisk. At first, it sounded too simple, but slowly, she began to practice. She took one conscious breath and realized, this is life. She walked a little slower, feeling the ground beneath her feet. She tasted her food fully, noticing flavors she had long ignored. Each moment became a doorway to stillness. Mindfulness is not about escaping life. It is about entering it fully. Every breath, every step, every sip of tea is an invitation to come home to yourself. And when she practiced this way, her anxiety began to soften. The noise of the world lost its grip. She discovered that peace was never somewhere far away. It had always been hidden in the present moment, waiting for her attention. You don't need to change your entire life to find calm. You only need to be here, now. So the next time you breathe, know that it is a gift. The next time you walk, know that each step is sacred. Because mindfulness is not just practice, it is the medicine that nourishes your soul, one moment at a time. 10. Treat every morning as a fresh start. There was a man who always woke up with yesterday still heavy on his chest. The arguments, the mistakes, the worries, they followed him like shadows into each new day. Even before he brushed his teeth, he was already replaying what went wrong, already drowning in the weight of the past. But then one morning, something shifted. He remembered a simple teaching from the Buddha. Asterisk. Every morning we are born again. What we do today matters most. Asterisk. He sat by his window, watching the soft light of dawn spill across the horizon. And in that silence, he realized life was giving him another chance. The world did not demand that he carry yesterday's burdens. The morning was an empty page, waiting for him to write again. That day, instead of rushing into old patterns, he took a breath. He whispered to himself, asterisk, this is a new beginning. Asterisk, he allowed the regret of yesterday to soften, allowed the fear of tomorrow to rest. He stepped into the day as if it were a gift, not a punishment. And slowly he began to see every sunrise is not just light breaking the sky. It is life inviting us to start over, to forgive, to let go, to create. You don't have to be trapped by who you were yesterday. You don't have to replay old stories that keep you small. Each morning is an invitation to begin again, with clarity, with peace, with love. So tomorrow, when you open your eyes, pause, feel the breath in your body, feel the newness of the day, and remember, you are not bound to the past. You are free to begin again, right here, right now. 11. Gratitude transforms pain. There was once a woman who carried a deep wound in her heart. She had lost someone she loved dearly, and for many years, the pain never left her. Every morning she woke up with the same emptiness, the same question, why me? Her life became a cycle of sadness. On the outside she smiled, but inside she was drowning. She believed that healing would only come if life gave her back what she had lost. But life doesn't work that way. One day, sitting in silence, she remembered a teaching from the Buddha. Asterisk. Do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future, but concentrate the mind on the present moment. Asterisk. In that moment, she tried something different. She whispered softly, asterisk, thank you, asterisk. Not because the loss wasn't painful, but because even in the pain, she could see love. She remembered the laughter, the lessons, the moments of kindness. And slowly, gratitude began to shift the way she carried her grief. It didn't erase the wound, but it softened it. Gratitude became like sunlight shining through a dark forest. It showed her that even suffering can be a teacher, shaping her into someone more compassionate, more alive. She realized gratitude doesn't mean ignoring pain. It means seeing the hidden gift within it. When we are grateful for the challenges, we stop fighting life. We begin to flow with it. And in that flow, we find strength we didn't know we had. The Buddha taught that suffering is a part of life, but how we respond to it shapes who we become. Gratitude is the bridge that carries us from despair to peace, from wounds to wisdom. So when life feels heavy, pause, breathe, whisper, asterisk, thank you, asterisk. Not because everything is perfect, but because even pain has something to teach. And when you can hold your suffering with gratitude, it no longer breaks you, it transforms you. Summary of key points and reflections. Everything we've shared today leads back to one truth. Nothing stays the same. Pain, no matter how sharp, will pass. Just as the seasons shift, so too will the storms within your heart. The path of healing begins not by running from your suffering, but by turning toward it. By looking into its roots, you find understanding, and in understanding, you find release. We heal when we learn to love ourselves, when we allow silence to be a teacher, when we return again and again to mindfulness anchored in the breath, present in the moment. We heal when we stop comparing, when we forgive, and when we bow in gratitude even for the hardships, because each trial carries within it a hidden gift, shaping us into who we are meant to become. And remember, every sunrise is a fresh start, a chance to put down yesterday's burdens and to write a new page of your story with peace, with compassion, with courage. The Buddha's wisdom reminds us, healing is not an escape, it is a homecoming, a return to the truth of impermanence, a return to the present breath, a return to gratitude and love. And when you truly return, you discover you were already whole, already worthy of peace. If this message touched something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who might need these words today. And if you'd like to continue walking this path of wisdom and calm, you're welcome to join our community here. Subscribe. Leave a thought in the comments. Tell us which part of today's teaching spoke to your heart the most. Thank you for staying until the very end of this journey with me. May you find peace in your steps, kindness in your heart, and light in your days. And remember, this is not the end, only a pause. The next teaching may be the one that speaks even deeper to your soul.